Dude, Luke, the printer's still busted, man. What the fuck?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 91 of the Topless Robot Podcast. My name is Ryan.
I'm Ted.
I'm Brooks.
And
I'm Jesse.
Joining us this week is Jesse, a.k.a. Street Cleaner. So it's...
We don't have a Dan. We don't have a Dan.
We do not have a Dan this week. Dan is out of town in the middle of nowhere.
But we miss him.
Dan is currently beginning his yearly metamorphosis when he breaks from his cocoon and his new skin grows in.
That's supposed to be kept private. How dare you dox him?
I want to start this week talking about the biggest news that we got this week, which is the PlayStation 5 reveal.
PS5.
Did everyone see the at least some of that?
I have a question for you guys, because the internet seems to hate it. I think the design looks kind of cool. What did you guys think about it?
I think it looks fine.
You know what it reminds me of? So, remember it's called Robo Sapien. It was this robot toy thing from early 2000s. It reminds me of that for some reason. I think it's just the curves and all the color.
I can see that.
I mean, it looks fine. It looks fine, but it's wow, they went with this year 2000 stuff.
Those were that color scheme, that white, black, and blue light kind of thing. I can see that.
It looks like something out of a Sharper Image catalog, or
yeah. I have a weird criteria that I judge my console aesthetics on, and that's how well do they stack? Because how often do you have just one video game console, hooked up to your TV or something? I don't know. For me, it's living room's got a few of them. In the bedroom, there's another couple, maybe some redundancy, like a PlayStation in each or something. But you're not supposed to be stacking them. But if you get these little stoppers, you can put a PS4 on top of an Xbox One, that kind of thing, so they can still breathe and they can still work. You're not stacking anything on top of this PS5.
No, you are not. It is a curved. It's like the PS3 in the curve side. Obviously, there's no way that they're going to force us to have to have it upright. There's absolutely no way. So I'm assuming that the left side of it is at least flat enough, or it will come with something that it'll be able to lie on its side.
There's a picture of it. There's a little stand that comes with it that they show it laying down horizontally.
Okay, good.
So it can definitely go horizontally. I'll find the picture and send it over. But
because
I'm gonna get a screwdriver and take off all the unnecessary plastic off of it, just so I could lay it down. Because
you're gonna take away its popped collar.
Plastics.
You'll activate its trap card, because obviously it's
when I play video games, though, I love sitting there staring at my game console, because that's exactly what I do. Yeah. Honestly,
I think the design is better than the Series X, because the Series X, it just looks like a PC tower, like a micro ATX PC tower.
You know what the Series X reminds me of is in the 90s, you have all these game consoles that were like the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, for example. They spent time on designing those and making them aesthetically pleasing, and you'd put the carts in on the top and stuff. They even redesigned the NES as a top loader and stuff like that. But then there were other companies at the time that were trying to make more of a adult kind of thing. So we had I had a Laser Active, for example, which is like the most brutalist, like black box. And oh man, it could do amazing things, but it's this giant 20-pound black box, and it's hideous to look at. You have the 3DO, hideous to look at. CDI is hideous to look at. So in a way, I think that Sony is kind of going towards the whole like, hey, look at this beautiful, clean thing you're going to put in your cool IKEA house, and then Microsoft's like, box.
The first thing that I thought to myself when I saw the design was just like, wow, I can't wait to see what like the second smaller one looks like.
Yeah, right. Give them a couple of years.
Yeah, because they always do, and I love that because I always usually get the smaller one.
Yeah,
not like the George Foreman PS3.
I have a George Foreman PS3. It's white, and the thing slides,
Yep. The controller looks nice. Controller looks comfortable, and it's cool that they added haptic feedback on it. So I feel like they're late to the party on that, but I think they'll implement it well, hopefully.
And the pressure sensitive triggers too. So like it's got that ability to.
It's going to be really annoying to play platformers where I have to pay attention to that shit too. I can already tell.
Technically, the controllers that they have right now are pressure sensitive. They're on the shoulder buttons. The shoulder buttons, the R2 and L2 are analog. Yeah, so it's
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I guess
I know because it fast forwards Hulu every time I set the controller down on the
That's a good point.
Yeah. Every night we always start the TV up and we're just like, okay, put the controller on the table. Yeah. We're good.
I found
keep an eye on it. Don't let it move.
Yeah, and then Psycho Manus starts yelling at you and says, "Put the controller on the ground."
I see you've been playing.
You like Castlevania?
I cheated and played it on GameCube, so he said, "Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Sunshine."
I found
that's also my Starscream voice, but
it's a good Starscream voice.
I found it really weird that they opened their future of gaming video announcing GTA 5 for the PlayStation 5, which means Grand Theft Auto 5 has now spanned 3 console generations.
Soon we're going to get it on refrigerators as well, and we'll have it.
I can play GTA 5 on my Sirius XM radio console.
So at first when I heard that, I was kind of like, "Oh, that's ridiculous!" Blah 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 blah. And then somebody said, "There's Nintendo leak or whatever, which may or may not be true, that Wind Waker is being planned. The Wind Waker remaster is being planned for the Switch." And I got all like, "Oh, hell yeah. Wait a minute. Jesse, I see what you did there."
The thing with that, though, is that the Wind Waker is old enough for us to feel a bit of nostalgia for it. Not necessarily the remaster, but you could argue that anything that came out on the Wii U warrants a re-release because they needed do-over because they didn't reach an audience with the games that were released on the Wii U. Even and there were some decent games there.
They literally cut that game's life cycle down by half.
Yeah. Whereas Grand Theft Auto 5, people were playing Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS3, they were playing it on PS4, and they were playing it. They will be playing it on PS5. And it's been a consistent thing. It hasn't gone anywhere. Like people are playing GTA 5 right now on their PS4s. I can't necessarily make that same argument for Wind Waker and people playing it on their Wii U's.
Yeah,
I'm a Wii U apologist, and I have not hooked my Wii U up in years.
I did. I have in this quarantine. I have it hooked up, so I could play Super Mario Galaxy because it's one of my favorite Mario games, and like I want to remaster a Super Mario Galaxy on the Switch, especially considering that was a rumor. There's not an official word from Nintendo yet as to whether they're going to do it or not.
I thought it was official that we're going to get Galaxy, Sunshine.
It would be great if that turns out to be true, but I found no substantiated evidence that it came from an official channel.
I thought Kotaku wrote an article about it. Obviously, it's Kotaku. But.
Right. But it would make sense because they actually wouldn't even have to do a lot of work in order to get Super Mario Galaxy out on the Switch, because Super Mario Galaxy was released on the NVIDIA Shield in China. And the hardware in the Nintendo Switch is all basically an NVIDIA Shield.
Polygon actually did a thing about it.
Yeah, I think it would be rad, and I certainly hope that they do end up doing that. But that's just me wanting to. And that's another thing is with Switch ports, it's not exactly the same as porting from one generation to the next, or like Skyrim being released a million times or anything like that, because now it's like, oh, I can play this mobile, whereas I couldn't play Wind Waker mobile before.
I gotta say though, like, did anybody here play the Wind Waker remaster on Wii U?
I did.
It's
I love
gorgeous.
They really improved it. Just those little tiny micro changes that they did. The little minute changes was so vast in the scope of the entire gameplay as a whole.
Well, like the whole not having to sail everywhere. That's already a huge bonus. And
when you do sail, giving you the sail that you don't need to change the wind direction every time you want to turn a different direction. Like, oh my God, that felt so nice.
Yeah.
I was a purist, and I started out playing it without that sail. And then I was like, fuck, I forgot how annoying this is. And bought the sail, and I was like, yes!
Yeah, that is a great Zelda game, and I remember all of the flack that it was getting when it came out.
Oh, these baby graphics! Look at this. This is not my Zelda.
Isn't that what we do, though? I mean, like we kind of like harp on everything, and even if we don't harp on everything, we tend to give the attention to people that do harp on things. Like I last month finished playing Twilight Princess again, and it is my first time playing it since it first came out. So it's been a while. I literally forgot everything about it. It's been a while.
God damn it.
Since I played some Twilight Princess. Yeah, but the things I can remember.
I like you.
No, but like I played through it and it was an okay game, but like, being on Zelda, subreddits and Facebook groups, people hate on that game so much. And I just can't figure it out. I mean, people go, oh, Okami's better if you want to play Okami. And it's just like, nah, I don't know about that.
And I also wouldn't argue that one is a substitute for the other.
Yeah, they both have dogs in them, Ryan.
Yeah, right. Like,
well, do you hate dogs, I guess. Do you hate dogs? Is that what we're hearing? You heard it here first on the Topless Robot Podcast.
I never really hear too much hate for Twilight Princess, though I wasn't a huge fan of Twilight Princess. I enjoyed it fine. The one that I do hear unending hate for is Skyward Sword.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Oh yeah, I'll agree on that one though. That's because they accessibility is very important. In video games today, accessibility is one of the most important things. So I hope we can talk about it, but I'm working on a video game right now, and accessibility is really, really important. And when they literally put you put that entire game behind controls that don't work. And on top of that, I don't have any limitations myself, but you literally just pointed at everybody with any physical limitations and said, fuck you, you don't get to play our game.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the stupidest things they did. And from what I understand, I mean, I played maybe 3-4 hours of that game, but from what I understand, it's not a bad game. The controls are awful though. And the fact that they built that entire game around the whole the
Wii
mechanic.
Motion Plus.
Okay, do this way, that way, this way. Okay, attack from this side, attack from that side. So even if they did make a controller adaptation version of it, it wouldn't make any sense. Like they would have to rebuild the whole game. And I mean, I'd rather see that money be put towards another Breath of the Wild type game.
Yeah, right. And like in theory, it's not like it basically serves as a tech demo for, you know, their Wii Motion Plus, and that's it.
Yeah, I already got crossbow training though.
But yeah, back to the PS5 announcement. There were a bunch of games that were announced in that as well, and so I have some notes that I took while watching it. New Spider-Man game with Miles Morales. I am super fucking pumped for that. But
yeah, that one should be good.
There seems to be some disconnect as to whether it is a DLC or a standalone game. Developers are saying it's a standalone game. PlayStation has said that it's DLC. So I'm probably going with the developers on this. I'm pretty sure they know what they made. So it's supposed to be standalone.
They weren't able to get into the same room and talk to each other because of COVID. So
Yeah, right.
there's just a disconnect.
Go for it.
I got a little funny story for you. I'm sorry I'm moving around so much. I apologize. I'm trying to make the best of what I got. But I got a job a few years ago. I got a little day job, and it was at a printing company where they printed books, posters, flyers. You think you name it, they printed it, and it was kind of a big deal. And I literally got this job simply so that I could get a in on making rad merch, like mad.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so like my whole idea was like I wanted to make some custom boxes and stuff like that, so I could do box sets and stuff. And to do that, to order those and to buy them yourself, it's an astronomical price. And so I was like, it'd be really cool to like work for this company, you know. And so I applied and I got the job there just so that I could like have an in doing this. And so I'm in the lunchroom one day and I'm looking out the window, and there's a total of like 9 people or 7 people that work at this entire factory, this company, which that's how automated everything is. And I'm in the lunchroom and I'm looking out the window, and there's a bunch of food trucks, and there's nothing but I hate to use the word millennials, but it explains like roughly the age that all these people are, you know, like sure. I'm a millennial technically, you know, I think we all are probably.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're all technically millennials.
But, you know, and everybody had their hair dyed blue, and everybody had piercings, and, you know.
Who would ever dye their hair blue?
Yeah, right?
I know. So it's an affront to nature.
and we're in the middle of a commercial business area. There's nothing recreational around. So, and it's the middle of a Thursday, you know. So I asked one of my coworkers, I'm like, what's up with that? And they're like, oh, that's Sony video games, Sony Interactive or whatever. And I was like,
really?
What? And they're like, yeah, that's Sony, you know. And I was like, crazy. So I decided to go out there and like start like talking to people, like, hey, fellow kids, you know, like,
put your hat on.
How do you do?
Yeah, skateboard. Beach, please. Am I right? And you know, and I'm like just trying to schmooze and stuff, and just talk to people, and yeah, come to find out like that's Sony Interactive or whatever. That's where they were developing games and stuff, and so I tried to act like I was one of them, you know, and sit at tables next to them, and they were totally talking about this game they were working on, Spider-Man, and I was like, huh. So I got on the internet, I'm looking, and absolutely nothing is being said online about a new Spider-Man coming out, right?
Huh.
This is, I want to say I got a job there in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So like not a single word is said about a new Spider-Man game coming out. And so I was thinking like, I could totally be that guy right now. Like I could like, this is another fringe benefit. Like I could totally just have lunch with these guys and be like, well, time to go back to that job that we do, you know, and then walk around the building, you know, and go to a different building.
Make some games again.
Back to the game factory.
Point me into the direction of the game press.
Back to the game mines.
Everybody there was talking about it, and yeah, sure enough, the Spider-Man game came out of that place, and I thought that was kind of neat. I was like, oh, I knew about that.
I knew about Spider-Man before it was cool.
It was a killer fucking game. It was absolutely great. They absolutely like super nailed every aspect of that game. So I'm extremely excited for the Miles Morales arc to come out. That'll be really fucking cool. A new Horizon game is coming out.
Oh my god, it was so pretty. Even though I never finished that game.
Yeah, I still need to finish the first one. But man, it's another game that's just such a solid fucking title. Like, they had some real heavy hitters in this, in their, launch video. But Spider-Man was so incredibly well received, and not only heavy hitters, but exclusive heavy hitters. So Spider-Man and Horizon are only going to be on PlayStation 5, and they were incredibly well received when the first games came out for both of those franchises.
I think Spider-Man was probably the most fun I had with the game, besides God of War in the last 5 years. I mean, just the feeling of moving in that game was just so perfect.
Yeah, they absolutely nailed it. It was so much fun. Little Devil Inside looked kind of interesting. The art aesthetic, and I think kind of what they're,
what's it called?
Little Devil Inside.
That sounds like a name of a Disturbed album or something. Like, instead of the PlayStation brink noise, it goes wow. Yumma.
But it was there was no text and no dialogue. It was just like, kind of cutesy graphics, and it kind of looks like the entire game takes place inside of an old man, is what I'm getting from it, with the name being Little Devil Inside, and mixed with the gameplay and the way that they were showing things.
Anatomy Park?
Yeah, something like that, but for some reason he's got a bunch of like creatures inside that you have to slay.
Cool.
They're diseases. You got to get rid of the herpes and the...
Yeah, well, speaking of, what will get me to buy a PS5 right away is if they come out with another Trover game.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Trover was a lot of fun. I haven't played it in VR yet, though.
I don't think
it's worth it. I mean, I've only played it in VR. It wasn't until I beat it that I saw that there was that it's also non-VR.
Yeah.
So it's both.
I ended up picking it up for Switch and started playing it on Switch. But I have it on PS4 as well. So I need to hop into that in VR because it looks like it would be so much fun in VR.
I love my PSVR. I hope it's. I hope they said anything about PS5 being backwards compatible, or
they're not that I've seen, but I know that they are definitely emphasizing backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 5, and I would expect, especially with the amount of effort that they put into VR with the PSVR, that they would continue that moving forward. I
love mine, man.
They did show.
I'm a PSVR preacher.
It's great. It's the lowest barrier to entry for a VR system.
Boom. Yeah, exactly.
If they didn't have that backwards compatible, I think that would turn a lot of people off of what's a burgeoning marketplace.
Yeah.
Just because, no one's going to want to buy a new console and then also go and buy a new VR headset, which is probably going to be more expensive than the old VR headset. That's $1,100 right there. Boom.
I know that they're at least going to continue supporting VR. I just don't know what that's going to look like in terms of backwards compatibility or forwards compatibility, because they also showed off the new PlayStation camera in the future gaming, special thing that they did. And I mean, showed off in that they were like, camera. That's pretty much it. It looks like this. Cool, thanks.
It exists.
It is a camera. In fact.
The only useful thing that they have used the PlayStation camera for since its inception, 10 years ago, has been PlayStation VR. So we'll see.
Oh, they used it for. Oh, I was thinking the Kinect. Never mind.
Deathloop.
Hey, you know what I want? I want to be able to backwards compatibility with the new Xbox with my Steel Battalion setup.
Oh yeah,
that's what I want.
Oh my God, you're a Steel Battalion guy.
I bet, because that setup had to have cost a lot.
Yeah. I've had a green. I had a green one and a blue one. I still have the green one, and I bought it online and they shipped it to me from Capcom. So the box comes in is from Capcom. So I thought that was pretty funny. It wasn't shipped via a third party. thing. And then and I sold the blue one. I got, when people were freaking out over that in the Xbox 360 era, I came up on that. But
yeah, I remember the only PAX I went to was the first year they did PAX East in Boston. And they had an entire Steel Battalion room.
Oh, dude!
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because what was the max?
That's some nerd shit right there.
The max number of players for multiplayer? Like they had a setup to support like the max number of players. They had stations for every. It was fucking rad.
I think I've only ever played Steel Battalion with the full setup like a few times. One of my buddies in junior high had the full setup, and every time I went over, I'm like, I need to play. Never been able to find my own.
Deathloop was shown, which looks really good. I wish it wasn't Bethesda because I really hate Bethesda. But it is Arcane Studios who have shown us time and time again that they know what they're doing. So for all, I'm sure that it's going to be a great game. It looks like a lot of fun.
Returnal looks interesting.
What was?
Did you see that one? Returnal?
Yeah, Returnal. I marked it as intriguing. There are a lot here where they showed us just enough for me to go, okay, sure. And
Returnal looks like if Edge of Tomorrow and like an action RPG had a child.
Yeah, right.
Which I'm okay
that's
with.
right. That's the Assassin Groundhog Day game.
Yeah.
Project Athia. They showed us like a little bit of that, which looked interesting. Square Enix game. Kena Bridge of Spirits looked interesting in that, like, anyone who loved Pikmin or Overlord, here's a game for you. Ghostwire Tokyo looked kind of interesting, except it was more action heavy than I was kind of hoping for a game like that. Like, I want the spooks. I don't really care much for the you are OP ghost hunter man, like hack and slash this ghost. Yeah, like that's...
I think that combat and horror games do not, in the Venn diagram of video games, combat and horror should never cross.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you've ever played Silent Hill Downpour, nothing's more evident than that.
Yep. Because
you can't have an immersive, scary environment and have to fist fight juggalos at the same time. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
That's a Jesse original. Yeah.
Pragmata looks good. Solar Ash from the people who developed Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very excited for that. And of course, Resident Evil Village. I'm very excited for that as well.
Did you catch the VI?
Yeah, we brought it up on the podcast before, and you didn't believe me.
I didn't believe you. You're right.
Who's the fool now, Tyler?
Sorry that my default is don't listen to Ryan. Okay.
And then
I
there
have learned a lesson over the years. Okay.
What the fuck was that other one? That stupid. Oh my god, I can't stand it. Bug Snacks. Did you guys see Bug Snacks?
I didn't. I've been kind of picking up bits and pieces of this over the week. So
I can't.
Yeah,
what's weird is the developer made a good. I think it's called Bug Snacks, isn't it? Yeah, it's called Bug Snacks.
Yeah,
the developer made a really good game before that. Oh yeah, they made Octodad.
There's always weird titles thrown in, at least with recent new consoles. Like within the last 10 years, there's always really strange, titles thrown in there. I don't know if you guys remember a Wii U launch title, Little Inferno.
Oh yeah, Little Inferno is fucking great. That's from Tomorrow Corporation.
Exactly, but back when the Wii U was announced and they announced that there was going to be Little Inferno was going to be a launch title, people were doing the exact same thing, going like, "Oh, they've made great games, but this is kind of strange. What are you doing it? You
set things on fire."
Yeah, exactly. But then it came out and we're like, "Oh yeah."
But like Bug Snacks is like there are bugs, right? Now stick with me here. They're bugs, but they're also recognizable snacks.
What?
So, like, a strawberry, right? Like, has eyeballs and walks around on its leaves. And there's a bug that looks like a burger half in the wrapper that's running around and shit. And then the residents eat these bugs, and their bodies turn into whatever the fuck it was. And there's no explanation for that whatsoever in the trailer. The trailer, there's like this weird like you're being talked to by someone and they just casually, take a bite out of a bug fry and then their arm turns into a fucking curly fry. And there's
is this a David Cronenberg?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
There's no explanation for it. It's got a catchy song.
David Cronenberg and Wes Anderson invite you to a land of adventure.
Hey, to be fair, this is exactly the kind of game that I would expect from someone who made Octodad, okay?
I don't know, man. Octodad was like a physics playground kind of, game, and it's clever where you have to, like this doesn't seem clever. It just seems nightmarish, like weird. It's almost like I'll compare it to Viva Pinata.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, Viva Pinata was awesome though.
But it was also this like cutesy kids game that was, I don't know, kind of weird for Rare, right? Where it was not a platformer. It was not, it was just a farm for pinatas. Like,
that's fair.
Yeehaw, partner.
It was fun, but
I enjoyed it.
So Jesse, you mentioned earlier that you've got a game coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, brother. Let's talk about that game.
We got you for 3.
Listen here, Mean Gene Okerlund. The cream will rise to the top.
Bonesaw's ready.
Oh man!
You are destroying the earth.
Please tell me you're familiar with the mid 2000s
Ready to
Macho
Rumble?
Man Randy Savage rap.
Oh
rap
no!
album.
Oh yes.
Be a man, Hulk. Be a man, Hulk.
Yeah. He's like, what was it? Suburban Commando. What you gonna do? I gotta roll in Spider-Man. Woo!
We talked about this last week or one of the last few.
I think it came up. It came up fairly recently. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I went to a thrift store and I was I always look through the records so that I could buy all the laser discs for 95 cents, and I've got hundreds of laser discs. That's an ailment that I have. I have to buy laser discs. But anyways, so I'm going through there and I found a white sleeve test pressing of Macho Thing. And I was like, cool, I'll buy this. It didn't say Macho Man Randy Savage. It just said Macho Thing, and it's a test pressing. I'll always buy test pressings 100% of the time. If I find them, I'm buying them. Just because sometimes there's really weird stuff out there. So I get home, and I put it on, and sure enough, it's a single. It's a 12-inch single on one side, and it's Macho Man going, chilling in the club late night, trying to have fun, work hard, play hard. That's my slogan, and I was all, that's neat. Then I flip it over to find out what's on the B-side. It's the acapella. So it's literally just the vocals of Macho Man Randy Savage.
Gold mine right there.
Right?
Dude, tell me that you've already digitized this and
Dude, I remixed it back in 2013, man.
Oh, did you?
So, yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
It's on your B-sides album, right?
It's on my B-sides album.
I love that album so much. As soon as he started saying Macho Thing, I was just like, because I started listening to your stuff because I was looking for like a cover of the Unsolved Mysteries theme for some reason, and it was just like, oh, okay, I'll listen to. Okay, all this is really good, great, fantastic. But fucking Macho Thing, I put that on to my friends. We had a great time.
Thanks, man.
It was fucking hilarious. Brooks, I can't remember. It was probably 2 years ago or something like that. Like, or maybe a year and a half ago. Like, drops that Unsolved Mysteries cover in the in our group chat, and I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds awesome. Then I look and see who it's by. I'm like, oh, I know this guy.
I know that guy. what was I going to say though? So I've for a long years and years ago, there's this guy. He lives by me in San Diego. Funny enough, we actually went to high school together, but we didn't know each other in high school. His name is Brooks, believe it or not.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he is a indie game dev, and he I was like, oh well, I like making music, and he likes doing making game stuff, and so we kind of worked together on a few different projects. He entered some of those game jam type competitions where they set goals like they'll do make a game that can be beat in 1 minute, or make a game. And so in this one game jam was make a game that only uses one button, so we got talking about it, and we're like, okay, well, you can do a lot with one button. Like, how long is the button pushed, and that kind of thing. If you tap it, if you hold it, if you double tap it, all the different things we can do with one button. And he came up with a game called Runaway Tank. And the whole story is that it's like you're in a tank, but it's like an anime tank that can jump, like Tank Police.
Yeah.
And you're at the top of a hill, and a villain has severed your brake cables, and your tank starts rolling down the hill. So quickly you run, you jump in the tank, and now you have to navigate through the city. You don't want to destroy things. You don't want to hurt people. You're in this tank, and you have to jump and avoid things, and everything is one button. So I jumped at the opportunity to be able to make music for this, and to do that. And then from there, he started working on more ambitious games, and he did a game in 2013 called Eternum. He started developing it in 2012, and it got published in 2013, and that was exclusive on Xbox Live. And it was called Eternum, and it's a cute 'em up. It's a bullet hell shoot 'em up, but it's kittens and puppies and stuff like that. And it's amazing. It's got a great story to it too. Like if you stick it out and play it and read the story and all that, it's really fun. It's just a really fun, whimsical adventure of a school of technology and magic. So half of the NPCs are mechanical and technology, and the other half are magic and all this stuff. And it's really fun. So I got to write the music for that, and it was my very first time ever writing the soundtrack to a full video game. Oh, wow. And it was a really fun experience. And from there, he's worked on, he's pretty much a one man wrecking ball when it comes to doing game development. And when he's working on these games, he's not using software. Like he doesn't go and download like Game Maker Plus and the click and drag type game designers. He's not even using like Unity or Unreal or anything. He's building his own handlers and interfaces and stuff like that. He's from the ground up, and it takes a long time. It adds a lot of time to the game development process, but in the end, it cuts out so much. You know what I mean? Like being able to publish something, being like, yes, I wrote this. Okay, well, who wrote this and who wrote that and who wrote this? Me. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about managing all the different licenses for everything that you're using. Yeah.
It was
so. We came up with this idea. The street cleaner thing is it's the only thing that I've done since. So Brooks from Creaky Lantern Games and I had always talked about I always wanted to do the music for like a soundtrack, and so he was the one that I'll fully credit him on record of helping me start Street Cleaner, inspiring me to do it, and basically being the fire under my ass to don't wait for someone to have a movie for you to write the soundtrack to. Just write your soundtrack, write your stupid soundtrack, do it, and don't wait for someone else to hand you a film. Hey, write the music to this film. Instead, come up with the idea. So he's been with me every step of the way through Street Cleaner. He's done a lot of the album arts. Pretty much up until about last year, everything you'd ever see Street Cleaner wise was all Brooks taking care of it.
Oh wow!
Handling pretty much every visual aspect. Because when it comes to visuals, I'm not a visual artist. I'm a sound guy. I can do music. So so I'm really telling a long story here. Sorry about that.
No, man.
No, you're good.
You're
good.
It.
But
you're saying my name a bunch as well, so I'm enjoying it.
Every time I
your
say
SEO
it,
is great.
Oh, hey, speaking of that, Dublin.
So we came up with the idea of he's a really high concept guy too. He doesn't like taking the easy way out when it comes to doing things, and so none of his games are easy by any means. They're not like, oh, this you can't just. None of his games are. You could just say like, oh, that's a platformer. Oh, that's a this. He's always taking ideas and making new things and new things and new things and mashing things together and stuff. So I'd been kind of grading on him for years, trying to get him to make a street cleaner game, and I've been telling him, let's do it real simple. It'll just be a real simple game, you blah, blah, blah. But he won't do, he won't do easy. He won't take the easy way out. It's going to be right. It's going to be, he's going to make it, and if it's going to have his name on it, it's going to be something worth it. So he said, okay, we're going to do a street cleaner game. It's going to be an action platformer. They're like, cool, that's cool. Originally my idea was that it was going to be a battle car type game where you're going to be like a spy hunter type thing.
Sure.
And he's like, well, it's going to be an action platformer, and it is going to meet most all of the requirements that the NES had. So the pixel density, the colors, all of the different things that were limited the NES, like sprite sizes and stuff like that, is what he was going to build the game to, those specifications. Sure. And at the same time, I am to write the soundtrack.
I was going to say, does this limit you to the NES? Are you making a chiptune album?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Done, actually. So the album, the music side's done. But I had to write all the music in playable Nintendo sound format. So the entire soundtrack is playable on an NES if you have a flash cart or something like that. And you wanted to do that. Wow. But obviously, just due to the way the game's built, the game's not coming out on a cartridge. That's not happening.
Sure. I was going to ask that because I know someone modified, I feel like it was Mega Man 2 or something like that, and skinned Mega Ran into Mega Man 2, and so now he sells or sold. I'm sure that they were limited supply Mega Ran game cartridges.
That would be the coolest merch.
Yeah.
I would buy that 100%
really,
every time I go to a concert. If someone had it on. Yeah.
I've seen people do that. I've seen people release albums and just have it be music on an NES card. So considering you had to write that music so it would be playable on an NES card, you could release that.
The soundtrack would be releasable on a cart, yeah. But I mean, I would also at the same time have to find somebody that would assemble it and pay that person, and I'm sure Mega Ran is been in the nerdcore scene as long as he has. I'm sure he definitely has the social capital to make that happen. Sure. Versus I am not in the chiptune scene, and although I've played it, Mag West and stuff like that.
I was gonna say I know we've got some friends in common who might be able to point you in the right direction were you to pursue something like that, like Danimal Cannon or someone like
Dan.
that.
I've known Dan for 15 years.
God damn.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we just we I can tell you stories. Dan's a really cool guy. He's honestly one of the most genuinely awesome dudes I've ever met in my life. Yeah. He's one of those guys where if you call them and you said, "Hey, I'm stuck on the side of the freeway," he's like, "Well, I'm in Buffalo, New York, but I'll get out there as fast as possible and help you out." Like he's a really cool guy. Dan's awesome. I don't know. But as far as the game goes, though, the soundtrack is going to be released. We have a big announcement in 2 days, and it got delayed because of reasons. We didn't delay it; it got delayed. So I was hoping to be on this podcast to talk about that, but I can't. I'll have to come back. But the soundtrack's going to get released separately, or you buy the game. There'll be a download code for Bandcamp or something. Sure. Or we'll figure something out. Maybe it'll even be on Steam. I've released the soundtrack on Steam before, so it'll probably be on Steam. there'll also be full blown versions of those in-game songs, like the full spectrum versions, like not just the chiptune,
Oh, right
stuff.
on.
But
Awesome.
the game itself is right now it's coming out on Steam this fall, and we're really working hard on getting a nice clean PC launch first, and then we'll be pursuing consoles. Obviously, Switch is the console of choice, but we're not even thinking about mobile. We're not even entertaining that idea of talking. Yeah, that's not happening. But Switch is probably our biggest priority after PC.
I mean, Indy's been treated so well by Nintendo on the Switch.
There's also, from what I'm learning, there's a bit of a wait. There's a line. So they are treating indies very well, but at the same time, you've got to wait, and also if you have a publisher, that's your fast pass,
right?
So if you and obviously we're self-publishing, so unless I've pursued a publisher and it didn't work out, and then most recently, over the past 6 months, a year, there's a lot of horror stories coming out about indie publishers for Switch. So we really have to be careful about what papers we sign,
right?
Because what was it called? Nicholas or whatever, that Switch publisher that tied up Guacamelee. Nicholas, yeah. They didn't do really a lot of favors for some people. Some games got tied up in their red tape for so long, Yeah, if the people that had was it Guacamelee? I'm pretty sure it's Guacamelee. If they had self-published, the game would have just come out only later. But because they went with Nicholas or whatever, I would look into that if you haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. I know that they published Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, and they put their name on the cover. What?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love buying a box of cereal and having it say Albertsons across the front.
Right.
Okay.
So they have published Cave Story, but I think they've always published Cave Story, haven't they? Because I know Cave Story's come out on more than on everything pretty much.
I think that was the catalyst that brought them to be a more powerful company, a more powerful publisher, was Cave Story. And Cave Story is amazing.
Yeah, it is. They published Binding of Isaac. They published Bit Trip Runner 3, or just Runner 3. The End Is Nigh, and Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap.
Oh yeah, that's right. Streets of Rage 4 as well.
Really?
I think. I don't know.
Anyways, I'm going to jump off of that topic. The the game is 7 levels, and it's done in the same vein as like Shatterhand, Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania 3 specifically, Batman. A lot of influence by Batman, but it's just a fun platformer, beat 'em up type game. You have a baseball bat as your main, and your alternate attack would be a gun. But you have to really watch your ammo, because ammo could only be used so much. If you fire all your ammo right off the bat, then later when you need it, you might not have it. So managing your assets is really important. But I think one of the main awesome things about this game that's really going to set it apart from most of the other indie type games is its authenticity to the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're playing it, you're not playing like a lot of like retro WoW games just have like an unlimited color palette, and because they pixelate to the next closest border, and then they zoom in and zoom out with sprite scaling and stuff like that. None of those were available on the NES, so this is really sticking to most of the things that were available at the NES. We did break the mold with like obviously full screen on whatever size monitor you're using,
right?
And then also frame rate. Nobody wants to do 2-frame walking animations where it's just like leg,
right.
Where one leg stays still and the other one moves and they walk. So Brooks,
that's how I walk. Don't walk. Don't walk. Shame. How dare you?
But Brooks spent a lot of time basically animating each frame of every walk animation of everything to be super smooth, and the game is just really smooth. Absolutely everything in the game is completely deliberate. And even the attack has a wind-up time that you'll have to get used to. The most important move in the entire game is a dive kick, and I'm learning a lot about video game development because it's like, how do we tell players that there is a dive kick? Mm-hmm. Because you can put it in a text bubble, but do you want to know what people do when they see a text bubble? They mash X.
Oh yeah.
And so with everybody, through no matter what we do, people just skip that text bubble. So we're trying to build it into, we're going to get to a point in the first level where you need to dive kick or else you can't progress. And what do people do? They give up. It's like, oh man, this is really how do we teach people that there's a dive kick? It's really important, and it'll really help you get through this game. But if you can master the gun, the bat, and the dive kick, the whole game's actually really fun breeze. You could just get through the whole thing. But if you have a hard time with not clicking through dialogue boxes, then it's going to be frustrating for you,
That's actually always one of my favorite things about. I took game design in college, and just learning the difference between showing and telling, and organically introducing concepts in a game is such a tricky, difficult thing. And it's there are games that do it right, and then there are games that just do it wrong. But if you can get a tutorial in a game that does it the right way and kind of has you grow with the game, then you're going to remember how to do that so much easier than in comparison to Zelda, where it's hit A to slash, or hit B to slash your sword, and that's all you really get. It's the difference there is it's the difference between good and bad game design. It's so cool.
Yeah, you look at games like Shovel Knight, and to use your shovel attack, one of the very first things they do is they have you dig down, And so we're like, okay, well, let's use that. But we've stuck the on model for this game is that there's not going to be deformable terrain. So you're not going to have wall turkeys. You're not going to have, garbage apples. You're not going to be able to, you guys know what I'm talking about. You're not going to be able to hit a lamppost and break the light.
Sure.
Everything is deliberate to where there's no deformable terrain. So we can't use that trope. So Brooks made it an entire new enemy type, like a drone that would rise up out of the floor. So if you wanted to get onto this ledge, you'd have to jump, dive kick it to get onto the ledge. And for anybody who knows that the dive kick exists, it's really easy. But for everybody else, they just sit there and they hit it with a bat, which will spawn a new one. Then they hit it with a bat, then it spawns a new one. They go, wow, there sure are a lot of these drones. It's yeah, because, and so
whenever that happens in games, that's game language for, no, you need it.
Well, here's the funny thing is, while that's happening, there's literally a dialogue box on the screen that says shows the dive kick, what button combinations to do the dive kick. And then, so watching people play, like friends and family, and I'll be like, hey, did you see that dialogue box? And they go, what dialogue box? I'm like, and I just touch the screen. I just touch it. That one. They're like, oh, because they're not programmed to read while you're hitting things with a bat. I'm not making fun of people. It's just obviously it'd be the same way if I didn't play games and I was trying to get to it.
But
I was elected to lead, not to read.
McBain. Wait, that wasn't McBain, was it? That was McBain.
It sounded like McBain.
Yeah. That was from the movie. I was elected to lead, not to rule. Yeah, that's right.
It sounds like our current president took way too many cues from McBain.
These goggles, they do nothing.
Tyler,
we make this country great again.
To your point on showing, not telling, I've never seen it better explained than Egoraptor's sequelitis on Mega Man X.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
That is the definitive version of the definitive way to teach people the controls of your game. Yeah, absolutely. That first tutorial level and just the way that Aaron goes through and yeah, that's amazing. It's phenomenal. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's so crazy how it's the perfect way to do it, but so many games don't do that, and it's just like, why can't you look at there are obvious answers?
Well, it's because you have to be able to step away from the thing that you're creating and think about it a little bit more abstractly. Because when it's difficult to think about, different ways to do things when you're like thinking about it in a linear fashion and you're in the thick of it or whatever. You kind of have to like, it's one thing to just make a game. Like, hey, I made a thing that you can walk through and do things in. Cool. But those little attentions to detail and those small little things are like the flourishes. It's the difference between an untrained artist and someone who's been doing it for their entire lives, because they're thinking about the larger picture in a more abstract manner than they are thinking about, oh, well, what color should this enemy be? Or what, how should this behave in these kind of more like straightforward ways, where like if I'm not a game designer, I'm looking at a game and just going, okay, these are the behaviors of these things, and thinking about it in a very basic way. And I'm not thinking about, okay, well, why did they choose to do it this way? Why did they choose to do it that way? And so if you're not used to thinking about games in a more complex fashion, like as a full, piece, then you might just be like, okay, gun go shoot, gun
go pew pew.
Quite, gun go shoot.
Pew pew pew.
But yeah.
I think we've gotten a lot better, especially with AAA games. I hate that term, but I mean it's the best to describe.
Yeah.
Is there's very few games that I've played in recent history where I got halfway through a game before I discovered I could have done that the whole time.
Yeah, right.
In a way, Breath of the Wild used that to its own advantage. They didn't explain to you what anything did.
Yep.
Have fun figuring it out.
So like shield surfing and shit.
Oh God, yeah, right. But then in the 90s, that was like the Mega Man X era. That was one of the worst times for that, because there were so many games that we all played that we failed at because we didn't know. Booger Man, for example. You remember Booger Man?
I remember Booger Man.
Yep.
Booger! I played through all of Booger Man. I got all the way to the last boss, and I didn't even know that there was a hot chili pepper rocket butt jump thing. Right? And like I played through the whole entire game and I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you ate the peppers and then he burps out smoke and then that was the joke. I didn't know that now you have a power up where you could jump through things, which made the game infinitely easier, but we really don't have that problem so much now, but we did in those era of games. So that's what I think is hard about doing a throwback game like this, is how do we take the modern day way of training people on what our new controls are and implementing it on a game that's supposed to look like it came out in 1988.
Yeah.
That just makes me laugh too. Like those kind of like mechanics that you go through those older games and never think about it, never find. And I just have very kind of loving memories of like talking about games with other friends when I was a kid and being like, did you know you could do this?
Yeah.
And that was like that's something that you don't have to do anymore. You never have that conversation. Did you know that you could hit down B over and you'll, do a slide dash?
A friend of mine came over to my house as a kid and showed me on TNC Surf that you could actually jump off the skateboard and the skateboard stays there and then you land on the skateboard, which means that you can go around other obstacles that before I had to go around. Mm-hmm. And then I would just like die when I got to a point where I couldn't go around them. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I've had this game for 2.5 years already.
It's the internet has certainly changed the way that we talk about games. It has succeeded in expanding the community, but also changing the way that community interacts. So those kind of special, like you go to your small group of friends to talk about a game and learn something new about the game that you didn't know before, are practically gone, because now that the community is so large and it's all accessible, all of that stuff ends up online. All the little Easter eggs, all the little, things like that just end up online. So if you search for that game, say you come across a difficult point, you're obviously going to Google. You're not going to go to your small group of friends. And then you get, all of it that way. It's all much more accessible. The discovery is not as delightful as it once was.
So yeah, I was about to say we kind of lost something because I'm a dad. I have 2 kids, a 7-year-old, and my son's going to turn 11 here in a week. And so my son was telling me some stuff about Disneyland, and we went to Disneyland for the first time earlier this year, and he's just been obsessed with it ever since. And he's like, hey, did you know that the broken pane of glass halfway through the haunted house ride was broken in the 1970s when a guy brought a gun and tried shooting at one of the things, and the bullet broke through the glass, and it would cost so much money to replace the glass that they put a fake spider on the bullet hole and painted it to look like a spider web. And I was just like, that sounds like some bullshit right there, you know?
Let's Google it.
I Googled it, and he's right.
Holy
he's absolutely
shit.
right. That really happened. Somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to get that ghost."
Yeah, right.
And brought their gun. But anyways, that reminded me, when I was a kid, when I was 11 years old, we did not have the internet.
Yeah.
So we would literally come up with these stories and tell each other these stories on the playground. Like, did you know the Ninja Turtles are actually based off of real life mutant turtles that were found in the sewers of Brooklyn? And then you would talk to another kid, maybe your neighbor who went to the Catholic school, and he said, "Really, I heard the same thing." And then like all of a sudden, like we all somehow symbiotically heard the similar stories all over the United States, and we didn't have an internet to check them.
Yep.
You know, and so that yeah.
One of the ones that I remember was Super Smash Brothers. The whole myth that you could unlock Master Hand, and
mine was Shang Tsung. Well, not Shang Tsung. Mine was the myth of my era. I think a few years older than you, because the video game myth of my era was Shang Long.
Oh yeah. I heard that one. Yeah.
Do you guys remember the myth that Goro in the first Mortal Kombat movie was an actual person, like that he actually looked like that?
Yeah, I heard that one.
Nice.
I heard that one.
Man, I'm trying to remember some, because I know like all kids have them, and there's tons of them, and for some reason, somehow, certain ones of them are so pervasive that they span the country.
The S.
Oh, the weird, the sacred geometry.
Where did that come from? How did we all know that?
No one knows. People have researched it, and no one knows.
Yeah.
And everyone fucking drew it.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't stand for anything. We're
living in a simulation.
It just is. Yeah. There we go.
Are we in a time loop?
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 Mobius strip. Any Trek fans out there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an indie bundle that's supporting Black Lives Matter right now on itch.io. And it's something like over 1,000 games on itch.io are part of this bundle.
Assets, games, all sorts of stuff.
Games,
even player guides, if you tabletop game guides, stuff like that. Yeah.
And one of them is a little platformer that takes place on a Mobius strip.
Ooh.
It's a very interesting little thing. But I bought that pack. I mean, why wouldn't you? You know, I mean, I've been donating to BLM causes anyway. Why not get over 1,000 indie games while I'm at it?
I was thinking to myself when I saw that, I'm like, this is one of the greatest deals of all time. I would love to be on a fly on a wall where some idiot fucking Southern pride, racist asshole goes like, all lives matter, herpa-derpa-derp, but that deal is too good to pass up. Let me give my $5 here, yeah. That's had to have happened. There had to be somebody that's so staunchly filled full of hate and piss and vinegar, but can't pass up a good deal.
Man, I'm racist to my core white pride for my life, but I'll tell you
what is this game? It's about gender identity? That looks fun.
Being mad about $5 is $5.
One of the.
I'm laughing about it, but in reality, it's a painful thing right now.
Well, we're crying on the inside.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the funnier ones, because obviously itch.io is an indie haven for all kinds of, just the weirdest ideas are going to be on there. And I think that one of them was called something like Gay Dragon Bros or something like that.
Yeah, bro.
And it's about telling your best friend. It's about telling your best friend who is a dragon that you love him. That's the game.
That's kind of adorable.
Yeah.
That sounds like Kanye's video game where you got to help your mom get to heaven.
Yeah.
That's a real game.
Fucking Kanye.
Have you guys heard that apparently Kanye was his whole MAGA phase was all just to get shit done? Supposedly.
That sounds convenient.
So, rumor has it that he has now thrown out all of his MAGA gear, and he has. It's not a rumor that he has donated millions to the Chicago Black Lives Matter funds and things like that, because he is based out of Chicago. But supposedly he said that he couldn't get shit done unless he wore that stuff. He couldn't get an audience unless he put on the fucking hat and wore the costume. And that's how he got, he's like, hey, I got people out of prison. So that's the rumor anyway. Okay, so my thoughts on Kanye, if anybody's interested, I think he's a hyper genius. And I've always thought that. I think that he, I'll be the first to admit, I'm playing 2D chess. That dude's definitely playing 4-dimensional chess. because he does these things every now and then that are beyond simply being a musician and recording music. And he does these things that are really next level. And will I ever buy one of his albums? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I could totally golf clap and be like, I see what you did there. I remember the first time that I learned of his existence was during Hurricane Katrina, and you said George Bush doesn't care about black people. I am not someone who pays attention to hip hop, but watching Mike Myers' face when he said that was a absolute treasure. Yeah, it was so good. He's all. He totally did a what was that? Never mind. I lost my train of thought. But then he said that he's Jesus, and he's.
Excuse me, Jesus.
Whatever.
Scoopity.
But oh my God, and that. Go on. I went online and I was invited by Groupies. You're familiar with groupies.com? They do gaming bundles. Oh, yes, so, yes. I am familiar with that.
I don't know why. I thought you were just saying that some groupies invited you. And you're like, fine, I'll go.
I do synthwave. We don't have those. No, I was invited by groupies.com to do a street cleaner bundle, and it was going to be, it was like all of my published works up until that point. And I was like, hey, it'd be kind of neat to add a special something. So without having to write an album, especially I don't do anything exclusive. It's just kind of one of my own rules. So I don't do exclusivity stuff. So I wasn't going to be like, hey, an exclusive song or whatever, but I did a collection of songs that I hadn't released, songs that didn't make it onto an album or something, or songs I did with other people. And I put together a collection of 12 songs that was only available on that Groupies. The soundtrack to a video game that didn't get published, I had gotten about 4 songs to it, so I threw that on there too. And then I needed to come up with album art real quick, so I Google image search a Minidisc. And I go through and I find one that is public use, that doesn't have any copyrights on it. And literally all somebody did was take a Minidisc, slap it on a scanner, and scan it. and I was just like sick. So I cropped it and it was nice big. And I photoshopped street cleaner, on there. And I called it, Groupies exclusive or something. And the day after it got published, Kanye posted his Yeezus 3.0, and it was a picture of the exact same file. Like he had done the same thing. Right? And because there was so much buzz about it, and Groupies was spending money to like promote this thing, people were commenting like, "Where do I buy the street cleaner thing? I get Yeezy? Like, what is going on right now?" And just like, nah, that's literally a public domain image. Like,
that's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure my uncle still has his mini disc player. I should see if he'll send it to me.
I actually have been wanting to track down one of the later generation mini disc players where you're not forced to record to it in real time. Because I got one when I was working for Sony. And the thing that was annoying about it was you had to record to it in real time. Like it wasn't an MP3 player. It used 8-track 3. And so you had to actually record to it like you would a cassette tape. But some of the later ones were MP3 players and stuff like that. So
I'm looking right now in my clutter of a room. I have somewhere around here. This is embarrassing because it's on video. I have in this room a complete, unopened, in the package, last model mini disc player. That here it is.
Oh my God! Wow, dude.
Yeah, it's never been opened.
Wow.
I bought 2 of them because I was working a Radio Shack at the time, and they clearanced them out.
Nice.
And Sony announced that they discontinued all mini discs, and so this was the last model to come out.
It was such
and
a cool format.
MP3 files. Yeah, this one you has a USB port on it, and you can plug it into your computer, and then you can click and drag WAV files, AC3 files, MP3, stuff like that. And but it doesn't do direct recording that the earlier ones did, which I kind of wanted that so I could do field recording.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, those
and
were
then, I
just
also
so
have
cool.
Kicking around here somewhere, I have a rack mount mini disc recorder.
Wow.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm not going to bore you guys with that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm the king of antiquated media.
Yeah, I don't know.
Laserdisc players.
Oh my God. The wall of Laserdisc. Yeah, I don't know what it was about Minidisc, and I wish that Minidisc had lasted longer than it did. Because I just thought it was such a neat little format.
Moving parts. The fact that it had moving parts, because the next generation, no moving parts. We lost all moving parts. Once Apple dumped the optical hard drive, then we no longer needed moving parts
anymore. But it was a
anymore.
while before they did that, because the first generation Apples had a pretty, like, the hard drives in those were based on compact flash, and so it wasn't even like a laptop drive. It was a compact flash card with a spinning disc inside of it. And
I believe it.
It was not until I feel like second or third generation Apple before it went to flash storage. It wasn't until the minis came out that they started replacing things with flash storage, or the nanos, or whatever the fuck they were calling them.
The nano,
Yeah.
the first one that didn't have the optical drive.
And Minidisc, I feel like, unless they just weren't being carried because Apple was drowning out the market, and other hard drive based MP3 players were drowning out the market, and I didn't see them, but I feel like Minidisc died so much earlier. You know
what I think would be really fun would be to I fancy myself an idea person. I come up with ideas, but then I never do them. But I wanted to make. I did one idea, and I haven't stopped doing that one idea, and I don't think I will. I'll just keep on doing that one thing. It's what I like doing. But I wanted to make a documentary film based off of format wars, specifically Sony, because they seem to win, lose.
Mm-hmm.
When they win big, but when they lose big too. You know.
Yeah, because Sony was aboard the Blu-ray train, right?
Oh yeah, and this is coming from somebody who has an almost complete HD DVD collection.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm about I think 20 movies away from a complete collection.
I used to have a bunch of HD DVDs as well. I had an Xbox 360 at the time, and I even bought the HD DVD add-on. And I had the Heroes box set on HD DVD. And then when they basically conceded the loss of the format war, I went out and bought tons of HD DVDs.
Yeah, I still to this day. Well, I shouldn't say. I just recently built a new computer setup, a whole new production setup, and it took me a long time. But one thing that I overlooked completely was a disk drive. So I didn't think I needed one, but every now and then you need one, right?
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah. So what I got really into westerns, and I started really binge watching westerns, and I found it a lot easier to buy those 50 movies on one DVD box, I found it easier to buy those than it was to buy them online. It's cheaper to go down to Family Home Entertainment or whatever it's called, and buy with those stupid things. And then I was like, oh, but if I could just literally just drag the MP4 files over to my hard drive and I can watch them like that anywhere in the house, it's perfectly fine. But I didn't have a drive, so I'm using my Xbox 360 HD DVD drive as my disk drive for my computer right now. Yeah, it works.
That's great.
Fair enough, man. We have come to the end of the podcast, and where usually we have been, we go to Reddit and I look up some silly question on Ask Reddit for us all to answer. I think what Brooks came up with last week, Brooks or Tyler came up with this last week of
was me.
What especially in times like these. The important question to answer is, what was the high point of your past week? Jesse, you want to kick us off? What was the high point of your past week?
The high point of my past week. This is some, so I'd like to preface this by saying that this is the second time I've ever done an interview, period. I've always turned them, not interview, but I've been part of something, because I've always turned them down, because as street cleaner, as the person behind Street Cleaner, it was important for me to have a separation of mystique there. But things are changing a lot recently. And I think that I've had a few high points this last week. This has been a real big week for us as a people, on the planet even. And I think that seeing people rise up and fight for what they believe in, and seeing people risk it all, is one of the most inspiring things that I've seen in a long time. And I used to think that there would never be another time where we as a people would be able to band together over something, because we're so divided. But amongst this division, I am finding out that there are so many people that have similar ideals that I do that aren't. I'm always afraid of learning what somebody's political affiliations are, but this is beyond politics. And I could say that, seeing the change happening in my own community and seeing the change happen in the world, and it's painful and it sucks really bad right now. But to see change happening right before my eyes is really awesome. And I'm still working on trying to figure out how I could be most effective at that. I obviously can do so much, and I don't want to cop out at all, but I'm working on doing my part. I just want to make sure that I'm the most effective as I possibly can be. And I don't want to do any empty gestures now, and do that. And also, this is kind of weird. This is a weird thing for me to say. I'm 3 years sober now, and that's
congratulations.
What I like to celebrate.
Yeah.
So I haven't partaken in any alcohol or any of the reefer madnesses in 3 years.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I think that's people when people talk about sobriety, it's always with a sense of shame or like they're embarrassed about it. But I'm going to wear it out. I'm going to let everybody know that I'm allergic to alcohol, and I've all but beaten it, but I've gone 3 years now, and hopefully I'm going to trek through the next several years of my life and fighting the good fight and being sober dad.
Fuck yeah, dude! Proud of you, man.
Yeah, dude.
Hell
That's
yeah!
awesome.
That's awesome. You're gonna make me feel like a real piece of shit for talking about the best part of my week now.
You know, it's really funny. So here I am, like being a sober dude, and there's amazing brewery in Philadelphia. Whipped up a special batch of beer.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
rad.
It's street cleaner, street cleaner coffee cream ale. So it was made with coffee.
Ooh.
And
it's amazing.
I think there's only 3 or 4 bottles left in there in my possession right now. But I can't drink it. But, when people come over, I go like, hey.
Shake it, drink it, make sure it doesn't go to waste.
Right. Please.
With all this talk of defunding and disbanding police, is Street Cleaner ready for the call?
Oh yeah, dude! I'm an institution. You kidding me? There's gonna be street cleaners everywhere.
Franchise it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah. That's come on, that's thing. People think there was one Jason Voorhees. No, there was like 9. That's how he moved so fast.
Yeah.
So,
Brooks, what's the high point of your week?
Well, my roommate surprised me with matching T-shirts for an inside joke of ours. Just yesterday, it was just came in the mail, and she's like, "I've been waiting for 2 weeks," and she just about exploded, and she already. Anyways, you know what? That was the best part of my week. It's gonna go leave it at that. I'm very excited that I've now moved into my matching T-shirts phase of friendship.
So you're going to leave it at that and not show us the T-shirt?
Oh shit! Yeah. I think
it's not a picture of Mario taking a shit, is it?
It's a Team Rocket shirt. It just has the art.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
right on.
Sick.
Yeah. It's somewhere. I think I put it away with the laundry.
How about you, Tyler?
What was the best part of my week? Honestly, I've been absolutely loving our Jackbox Party Pack game streams for the grid. Obviously, I kind of started doing that a little bit earlier without the idea of using it to actually create some good, but you've taken control and made it not just a let's see my friends thing, but also help out the grid.
It's been a ton of fun.
It's such a blast hearing from all the people that we don't really get to see right now. This weird, crazy group of friends that we've built up from drinking too much,
Yeah.
But I've missed all of you guys and all of them so much. So being able to hear from them every week and just kind of talk and play some games has been just an absolute blast. So between that and then I've had Laurel over. We've been doing good movie, bad movie nights. Me, her, and Kayla.
Wait, did you say Yanni?
Yes. The simple times when the hardest question to answer in a debate was Yanni or Laurel.
God.
No, the shirt is blue.
The good days, the good old days.
I love in bed. Oh, Laurel, who the fuck is Yanni?
How dare you? But no, I've had her over, and so me, her, and Kalis have been watching a good movie, bad movie nights, or good movie, bad movie Saturdays, and we watched Alien 1979 Alien.
So obviously you're on good movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie. The bad movie was we watched Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh God.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know.
So bad.
It was awful.
So bad.
Hey, you know what you should do? Have you ever seen the show Shameless?
Yes.
Okay, so what you do what you do is you watch Dragon Ball Evolution and then you watch Shameless and pretend it's part of the same canon.
That's a good idea.
Oh my God, it's him.
Yeah, Justin Chatwin and Emma Rossum too.
Really?
Yeah, Emma Rossum is Bulma in Dragon Ball Evolution.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
And I just can't help but think that the directors and guys who are behind Shameless saw Dragon Ball Evolution and were like, I have a great idea.
Well, so Shameless is based on, and actually almost is word for word, at least the first season or so, based off of a UK show called Shameless, which is what launched James McAvoy's career, actually. James McAvoy plays the boyfriend, and it was it's an incredible series. And so a lot of the jokes actually, like some of the jokes don't work well, and they try to do them one-to-one. So like when he takes the dad and drops him off in Canada, right?
That was funny.
In the UK Shameless, that works a little bit better because he takes the dad and drops him off in France, where he doesn't fucking speak French, and he wakes up on a park bench getting arrested in France.
Yeah.
To be fair, it was kind of funny dropping him off in Canada because he's all hyper America's number one kind of thing.
What's funny though, the inconsistencies on that show, because then you go to like season 7 and he's like, oh, Canada, I know how to get there. I know this trail. I know all this other stuff. And he's a guide. He guides people on how to escape into Canada. Like, I don't know. That show. I'm sorry. I can talk about Shameless all day long.
I actually
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Don't. I already watched it. That's enough.
So what about you, Ryan? What was the best part of your week?
Let's hear it.
Oh. Did I can't remember if I released my bass video this week or last week. I think
it was this week.
I think it was this week. So my first video for the Blue Bassist channel, I posted this week. And the support that I've been getting from people with that has been really cool. Jesse commented on it. Some other friends, like the drummer from Off With Their Heads and Devin, who's been on the show before from Direct Hit and stuff, like commenting on it and saying that it was super rad. And like being out of performing for as long as I have been, and to like start doing it in some capacity again. And I was really nervous about how it would be received. I was nervous about, kind of what I was doing, if it was interesting enough or anything like that, or if anyone would give a shit, or if it would find anyone. And so just, seeing the support that I got when I posted that really made me feel really good. Like that was easily the high point of my week. Now I got to figure out what fucking song I'm going to do next. I'm still working on the Gradius 2 song, Burning Heat, but there's almost 0% chance that I'm ever going to be able to get that playing at speed, because it's so fucking fast. And so, that bass line is like do 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 do, like it's very difficult. And I can even finger pick, fairly quickly, but some of it's just not going to be possible, I feel. So we'll see.
I watching some of these the music written for video games, especially shmups, for some reason, they write. It's almost like they write their bass lines outside of the realm of actual playability.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know it's actually there, but they're not writing it on a bass. Obviously, right. They're typing it all in or whatever. They're not even recording it live most of the time, I'm sure. But when I see people nail it, like when I see Kirby's Dream Band play Gradius or something, or even other games like Sonic, and I see some of these, like when you go to Mag West or something and you see these video game cover bands and they're just all over the place. There's this band called Vic Viper.
Yes, I've seen video of them on YouTube.
their bass player plays like a 6-string bass, and she's in 2 bands, a all-female Pantera cover band and Vic Viper, and she's just nailing all these parts. Like they'll do Batman, and she's just all Sunsoft is insane on their bass lines, you know. And I see this kind of stuff, and immediately I automatically get arthritis just watching it. Like my fingers start hurting.
Yeah, no, I saw her. I saw Vic Viper play Burning Heat on YouTube. I saw a video of it, and she's playing it an octave higher than I am, so she's way up the neck, which might make things a little bit easier. But you know, I'm on this little guy. And, I like playing on this little guy. I don't know if it'll come through, but like, you know, the part that I'm most happy about is like, you know, like just doing that little finger picky bit. It's just fun, you know?
Yeah. When it goes over from being a conscious thing into just muscle memory, that's just a really good feeling. Yeah, you know, and I've played. There's one song that I've played at every single show I've ever played as Street Cleaner, and it's called Nightlife. And I went to like go show somebody how to play it, and I forgot. I'm sorry, I went to tell somebody how to play it, and I forgot. And I'm like, whoa, like I haven't even thought how to play that song. Like I've played that song more than any song I've had in my entire life, you know.
Never had to consciously.
I don't even think about it. It just happens. And it's really cool when that clicks over, you know, and it just becomes like a muscle memory thing, and it just happens. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it up to speed, you know.
Get it up
at some point. But obviously, you know, the Marble Zone one was easy enough where it was a one day. You know, like I was playing Sonic one day, and that night I knew the song.
Marble Zone. That is, I'm trying to think how that goes.
Well,
oh man,
it's funny you should ask.
It's not coming through.
Not coming through for. Not at all.
Not at all. Actually, that's weird.
Crazy. The noise reduction is totally removing it.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn. Well,
can hear you speaking it, but no sound.
Yeah,
which is really weird, actually. Yeah.
So the note's not coming through, but you can hear the
I can hear your fingers.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I could.
You're playing acoustically.
I mean, it is an acoustic bass, so yes, I am.
I was making a South Park reference.
Oh, were you?
Okay. The Guitar Hero episode.
Oh,
He's playing acoustically.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really fun
The
one.
myth has been shattered. Michael Jackson never wrote any music for Sonic.
What, seriously?
Yeah, so I was under the impression that he did. I was super stoked about it. Come to find out, it was not Michael Jackson. It was one of his technicians, a person that worked on a lot of later Michael Jackson stuff. Composed a lot of the music for Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot the guy's name, but he was also in an 80s pop band.
Yeah, Brad Buxer.
Yes.
Because Brad Buxer was in a band called the Jetsons, which is actually here in Arizona, and their song "Hard Times," which was never released, got turned into Ice
Cap Zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, not just that one song, but other little pieces of other songs that he had written also made it their way into the soundtrack.
No kidding.
So it wasn't what we were hearing and comparing as, okay, well, this sounds like this song from Michael Jackson. It wasn't the Michael Jackson in that song that we were hearing. It was Brad. Yeah.
Huh. I'll be damned. Yeah, I remember the legend was always that they like removed his name from it or something, or he didn't want his name on it. I can't remember what the exact thing was, but
the legend was Sega wanted to distance themselves. At the same time, still making more copies and selling
Moonwalker.
Moonwalker. Like, give me a break. Like, they had the arcade and the home console version. they didn't care about any of that stuff, as they shouldn't have. Like, just keep trucking,
yeah.
Now, like, it does make sense for Nintendo to pull Mike Tyson, though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I heard that their official stance on that, though, was licensing.
Yeah, that was licensing.
Yeah. I still would have pulled him anyways.
Yeah, right. It was because they put Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out early enough in Mike Tyson's career where he didn't have value at that point.
Yeah.
They saw him as an up-and-comer. And then when it came time to, like, the license it got exhausted. And so when they went to relicense him, he asked for some absurd amount of money. And they were like, nope, Mr. Dream it is.
Yeah, Mr. Dream, no problem. And it's funny, I think Sega learned something from that, because that had to be one of the very first sports licensing things. I think technically Takashi's Castle qualified as a sports licensing thing as well. So they didn't reissue that game, and we didn't get that game stateside, but which we know it as Extreme Elimination.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or no, MXC.
MXC, yeah.
Most extreme. No, it's
challenge or something.
Was it? Yeah, it's MXC. But I can't remember what the C stands for.
So I think Sega learned something from that. I mean, I'll talk forever, man, but I think Sega learned something from that when they decided to try to co-opt the Genesis as a sports thing, because they got some of those Deion Sanders. They got
Steve Young.
Steve Young. Did he have a game?
No, I don't know. I just thrown out random athletes.
King Griffey Jr.
Charles Barkley, shut up and jam.
King Griffey Jr. was a Nintendo guy because Nintendo owned the Mariners.
Sega had Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had some golfers too. They had Madden was EA.
Yeah.
But they were only releasing on Genesis back then, anyways. And then Joe Montana.
Oh yeah.
I forget.
Sports talk. Yeah, sports talk.
Sports it around.
All right.
Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
You're the one who's actually into sports, Tyler. I'm the one who's lost for the most part. I just remember all these names from my childhood playing video games. I actually had Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing on Game Gear.
Shaq Fu.
On Shaq Fu, we will end it there. Jesse, why don't you tell everyone where they can find out any details on the upcoming Street Cleaner game? Where can they find Street Cleaner if they need help in the streets during these protests?
In the streets.
Yeah. I'm really bad at asking people to do things. I'm not one to like try to self-hype, but I really need as many people to add Street Cleaner, the video game. It's called Street Cleaner. What is that? : the video game on their Steam wish list. Basically, that's just a way. It doesn't cost you anything. You just add the game onto your wish list. And that's a way to basically let Valve know that we're more than just two guys from San Diego churning out a game. We're just two guys from San Diego. But, and that's the most important thing that I could ask people to do right now. And we don't make money on you wishlisting anything. That's not what it's about. It's just that when it comes time to launch the game, they'll take us a little bit more seriously if we have more people on a wish list versus somebody that might have a couple dozen, and so it's right now you can get there if you go to street-cleaner.com. So street-cleaner.com. There's a link right up at the top on how to wish list it. There's creakylanterngames.com. Will take you to Creaky Lantern Games where you can check out the other games that they've done. Right now, there's only one game that is still, accessible, which is Eternum from 2013. But it's a really fun bullet hell shoot 'em up. But soon, this year I haven't not focusing on writing albums or definitely not touring or anything this year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's all about getting this game out and having something that's a lot more than just, not to be disparaging, and this might sound weird. I don't know how to put it. I'm sure there's a better way, but it's not a game that I license my music to. This is a Street Cleaner, the video game. So this means a lot, and it is to a short. Like basically, it is. If Street Cleaner was a movie from the 80s, this would be the LJN knockoff game.
Maybe don't say LJN when trying to push a product of quality.
Right. So this will be the quality version of an LJN game. Like
this will be what LJN reality, hoped for.
Yeah, Street. You know how LJN would like you're Marty McFly, and what are you doing? You're punching clocks. You're literally punching a clock. So that's kind of what this game is about. You're not pushing a broom, but you're like fighting mice. You go to the sewer level. Yes, there's flies in the sewer level. One of the mid bosses is a giant squid that comes out from the sewer and grabs you and stuff. None of that stuff happens in the Street Cleaner mythos, but it would in a game that came out in 1988. So, yeah.
Cool. And socials, Street Cleaner on all the things.
Oh, things I got that SEO down, so just look up for Street Cleaner.
I'm pretty sure if you Google, Google will not think that you are actually looking for someone to clean your street.
Maybe.
Unless they need you to clean their street.
You know what
I'm checking right now.
But I just somebody pointed out.
Huh. The first result,
street cleaning.
The first result is a Wikipedia article for a street sweeper.
Nice. Yeah.
But it says see results about street sweeper occupation or street cleaner musical artist.
Damn. That's what I'm about right there.
And technically you are the second entry. Your Bandcamp is the second entry on that.
Oh, darn it. One thing I found out recently, somebody brought this to my attention. If you have a fresh, maybe incognito window and you just type in synthwave, it gives you a list of, artists. I'm in there.
Nice.
So I'm stoked.
Hell yeah.
I was able to get in on the ground floor there and be part of the synthwave. Hopefully when the book comes out in 20 years about synthwave, there'll be a little blurb. Yeah. Street jam.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Topless Robot Podcast. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks for letting me talk so much.
It's why you're here. Stick around for the post show where we can talk some more. And thank you everyone for watching and or listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.